Denzel Curry, Melt My Eyes, See Your Future album review. Let's chat about it. Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about this new Denzel Curry album. This guy is a Miami-based MC, a modern-day obsession of mine. And you know what? I'm just going to say it right off the bat. I know a lot of people love it, but I've never been a big Nostalgia 64 guy. I thought that Denzel at the time was kind of working on his sound. But ever since, Denzel Curry has been putting out some of the best hip-hop over the last 5 or 6 years. Imperial is insane. Taboo was just the blast of experimental hip-hop that I needed at the time. And while I've never been that wild about Zoo, and I've been pretty vocal about it, it still passes for better than most hip-hop these days. Now, the last time that we heard from Denzel, he was putting out one of the best EPs of the year with Kenny Beats for Unlocked. It was an album that blew my damn mind. Needless to say, it's pretty clear Denzel has been on quite the roll, and from the sound of the singles that were leading up to this album, I think that he's just hit a new level. This album starts off with Melt Session number 1 featuring Robert Glasper. This, as an intro, works perfectly. It brings in the very spacey, very abstract feel of this entire record. It's spacey, it's got its own little world, and Denzel sounds pretty otherworldly. Somehow, the guy continues to bend what you really, consider to be modern abstract hip-hop. He sounds so crisp, so sharp. I love this as an intro so freaking much. Then we have Walkin. It's been released as a single for a while now. And honestly, I've loved it for quite some time. It's got these very conscious lyrics. Guess what? A lot of this album does. And honestly, it's really tasteful. It never comes off like really cheesy or corny either. Denzel just sounds like he's like really focused and grounded. And that's really interesting along just how spacey and jazzy this instrumental gets. And the thing is, how much I've loved Denzel in the past, one of, the things that I did kind of hold against him was some of the themes on Taboo. While the music and the tracks and the singles were awesome, I felt like he had an issue stringing some ideas together. He does that in spades on this album. This is such a cohesive, coherent album. It has a theme and it sticks to it. Then we have Worst Comes to Worst. I love the dreary, very sluggish beat. It has sort of the horrorcore nods that Nostalgia 64 had as well. It's a nice touch. And you know what? I'm just going to say, this is the grisliest and most real album that Denzel has put out, probably since Imperial. It looks life right in the eyes and spits in it. And I'm all for it. Denzel is on another level right now. I think this is arguably his best project. Then we have John Wayne featuring Buzzy Lee. This track is wild. This instrumental is hazy. It's gloomy. It's got so many layers to it. I mean, shout outs to JPEG Mafia here for production. This reminds me a lot of the early 2000s left field hip hop that I grew up on. Your Mad Villain, your Aesop Rock. And the numerous Western themes on this track kind of blend with the themes of the album really well. The very conscious themes of this album continue on the last. He does it once again without getting cheesy at all. He rarely does here. Truthfully, this is a very grim, very real track, but it's one that's kind of necessary. He sounds so emotional on this track while remaining just as left field and abstract. Also love Mental featuring Bridget Perez as well as Saul Williams. I mean, Bridget's song hook here is awesome. I love the very spacey, very dreary neo-soul vibes we get on this track. This track is so smooth, and Denzel needs to do nothing to navigate it. He navigates it with ease. And once again, I have to point out, he comes through with these very introspective lyrics, but he sounds like he's been doing it for years. It's wildly good. I mean, and Saul Williams is always a gift. I mean, if you haven't seen the man's spoken word live pieces, he's unbelievable. And I worried about Troubles featuring T-Pain. I really did. But Denzel and T-Pain have this really bizarre chemistry that works really well together. I love the aggressive delivery. Kenny Beats has a fantastic beat on this track. And unexpectedly so, T-Pain sounds right at home. Now, I don't have a lot of complaints. I really don't. And I'm glad that I don't. The Smell of Death is one of them. This track is a real bummer. I mean, the beat and the production that we get here from Thundercat is actually really fantastic. And Denzel's verse is fine, but this track sounds dangerously unwritten. It's very short. It's by far the shortest track here. It just sounds like it should have been twice as long, so much more impactful. It's just a little underwhelming. And honestly, Sanjuro featuring 454, probably my least favorite track here. I'm not a fan of it. Like I said before, I've never been that big of a Zoo guy, and honestly, this track gives me a lot of that album's vibes. This just doesn't seem to fit on this album and this album's themes and vibes. And the chorus that we get here from 454, probably the least captivating one here. Oh, outside of that though, all hail Zeltron. Ain't No Way is a fantastic posse cut, one that I didn't expect to hear here at all. I love the off-kilter beat that we get here. It almost comes off like some 90s boom bap, which I don't hate at all. Rico Nasty's performance on this track, no pun intended, it is nasty. And JID and Denzel together, it's a match that's made in heaven. I love X-Wing as well. It's odd and really dramatic at times, but I also love Denzel's pop culture references here. Like, he really pushes himself on almost every track here. This is far from the bangers of Imperial or the artsier side of Taboo. And he continues to sound really sure of himself, and for good reason. He's rocking this. Also, this just happens to be one of the easiest to dive into tracks here. This chorus is going to haunt you all day in the best way. Angelz really hits me hard. It's once again deeply personal. A lot of this album it's very introspective. It's smooth. It's got this really classy vocal snippet. Everything about this track is very old school, very early 2000s left field hip hop. I have obsessed over Zatoichi featuring Slow Tie since it dropped as a single. I think it's the best track here. It's one of my favorite hip hop singles in a long time. I love how hard to place this instrumental is. This production is so silky. Denzel's verse here is absolutely nuts, and Slow Tie does his part. He comes on, he does exactly what he needs to do. The track's a banger. And as a finale, the Eyez really wraps things up in a really nice way. This is once again the sort of jazzy, classy hip-hop I grew up on. But he does his part in bringing it up to the future. The production's very slick. His performance is super skilled. Love his lyrics once again. And not only that, but it does a really great job of doing something that I wish more finales did. He sums up this entire album. Every theme is wrapped up nice and tight, and just, I feel like this is a fitting finale to one of the best hip-hop projects I've heard in a really long time. This album is awesome. Denzel is pushing himself on each and every track, and 9 times out of 10, he knocks it out of the damn park. He brings on fantastic guests. This is a who's who of left field producers that you need to know right now. The lyrics are really, coherent, conscious, and introspective too. It is really fantastic. It's the hip-hop record that I needed right now. I'm feeling a decent 9 on this thing, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.